Hey everybody, this is Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly with a review of the new Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G. That name is a mouthful. I'm just going to call it the Samsung Blaze, or hey, Blaze for short. So this is the Samsung Blaze, and I like it. I got to tell you right from the get-go, I think this is a very nice phone. First of all, the Samsung Blaze has been discussed as the replacement for the older Samsung Galaxy S 4G. Now, that was a phone that didn't make much of a splash when it came out, and it was itself the replacement for the Samsung Vibrant. The Vibrant had a pretty good fan club out there, and this is the Galaxy S 4G. This is the phone that the Blaze is going to replace, or is in fact replacing. Now, these two phones are just about the same size. They both have 4-inch AMOLED displays, and we'll talk more about the display in just a moment. There we go. It shifted itself into the camera mode. So this is the phone that the Blaze will be replacing, the Galaxy S 4G. Off the top of my head, the biggest difference between the two, externally anyway, is that the Blaze does not have an LED for lighting the camera. The Galaxy S 4G does not have an LED flash, while the Blaze does, in fact, have an LED flash. So that was a quick look at the older phone that the Blaze will be apparently replacing. So let's take a further look at the Blaze. I mentioned the display. It is a 4-inch diagonal display with a resolution of 480 by 800 pixels. In that sense, it's no different than the older Galaxy S 4G, or even the Vibrant, for that matter. They both have the same size and same resolution displays. A little bit of a letdown that it doesn't go with a higher resolution display. On the other hand, this display is absolutely wonderful. Now, when I'm looking at it on my monitor here in the studio, I can see some crosshatchy things going on the screen. I got to tell you, the screen has none of that. It's absolutely solid looking, and it just looks completely gorgeous. The colors are probably oversaturated because they are so punchy. When I show it to people, they go, wow, what a great looking display. Really does look good. Now, under the covers of the Blaze, it has a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor. Now, this is a Snapdragon processor, not the Samsung Exynos processor. The Exynos processor seems to be a little faster processor than the Snapdragon, but I got to tell you, this is a very fast 1.5 gigahertz dual-core processor. And in fact, it's the same processor, I believe, that's in the Galaxy S2 phone for T-Mobile, the Samsung Galaxy S2 phone for T-Mobile. It has 1 gigabyte of RAM, that's processor RAM. Now, for storage, though, they've kind of, gone to a lesser cost for storage. It has two, as far as I can tell from playing with the phone, it's got 2 gigabytes of onboard storage, and it comes pre-installed with a 4 gigabyte micro SD card. Good thing about that micro SD card is that you can access it externally. You don't have to take the back cover off. You can take it right out of the phone right there, which I think is a very nice thing, and I wish more phones did that. Very few phones, in fact, have that capability. Now, this is a 4G phone. It runs on T-Mobile's HSPA Plus 4G network with a maximum theoretical speed of 42 megabits per second. I've done several speed tests on it. About the fastest I've been able to get is about 6.6 megabits. It is getting a 4G signal right now, so we'll do a little speed test a little later on. On the back of the Blaze is a 5 megapixel still image camera. It does have the LED flash that we talked about, and it can do 720p HD video. I'll have some samples of photos and video that I took with the Blaze. In fact, I've had the Blaze for a solid weekend now, and I used it a lot over the weekend. There's also a 1.3 megapixel front camera. You get to the front camera by going to the main camera. Here's the main camera. Now, I have it set to the camcorder right now. I'll switch back to the camera, and we'll point at that Wirefly sticker. If I want to go to the front camera, I just touch this icon in the upper right-hand corner. That's the camera with two little arrows curling around it. I touch it, and now I have the front camera on. It's going to be very scary. There I am. Somebody's behind me. Oh no! But there I am, and we're not going to talk about that person behind me. So that's how you use the front camera with the Blaze, and of course it'll work perfectly fine for video chat or any activity like that. Now, I mentioned that I did use this extensively over the weekend. It plays back video fabulously well. I'm going to maybe show you a video playback a little later. And call quality, there's no easy way to demonstrate call quality in a video like this, but the call quality was really excellent. And one final thing that I want to say about the Blaze before I jump into more detailed things is its weight. Now, a 4-inch display, we used to think of that as big, but a 4-inch display probably is considered average nowadays. This is a very lightweight phone considering the size of the display. It's lighter than, should I say it, it's lighter than an iPhone, for example. So it has a bigger display than an iPhone, but it's significantly lighter than an iPhone. So, and it's lighter than just about any other phone that has a 4-inch display. So very impressed with that. And I have to tell you that the display just looks fantastic. One other thing about the display is that this is one of the first Samsung phones I've seen where you can just keep going around and around and around and around, and you don't get to the end and then you have to come back. So you can just go around and around. Now you can't flick it off and have it spin around like you can with an HTC phone, but it does. It's very nice to be able to just go around and around and get back to your main page or wherever it is you want to get. If you don't know which way it is, now these dots down here will help guide you as to which way you're going. And this you know, it doesn't really tell you which way the feature is, the app is you want to get to, but you know that you can get to it if you simply go in the same direction, which I think is kind of nice. You don't look like an idiot bouncing off the end. Oh, where the heck is that thing? And then scrolling back the other way. Okay, so let's talk a lot more about the Samsung Blaze. First of all, you see I've got quadrant loaded here. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do a quadrant test. Now, while the test is running, I'm going to turn the camera off and I'm going to come back when the test is ready to wrap up. This is the last of the visual tests that's part of the quadrant test. And there we go. It's going to ask me for the results, and we'll get the results. And here you go. Your device, it says, now this is the new version of Quadrant, by the way. This is the version of Quadrant that will work with dual-core processors. And by the way, I just said the version of Quadrant. So, yeah, we're going to have to sacrifice that right away. Here we go. So we scored 3,521, 3521. And you can see of the items that it has here on the display for comparison purposes that this phone is head and shoulders above the others. It may be hard to read, but we've got the Samsung Galaxy tab here. This is the Samsung Galaxy Nexus, which only scores on average a little above 2,000. And here we've got more than 3,500. That's pretty darn outstanding. So I think the Epic 4G Touch, which is the Samsung Galaxy S2 phone for Sprint, I think it scores a little higher than this, but that's a pretty outstanding score. That is as good a score as the Galaxy S2 phone on T-Mobile, which is simply called the Samsung Galaxy S2. Way down here is the Samsung Nexus S. So it is running at about 3.5 times slower processing capability than the Blaze is. Now, it's a little hard to see. You've got colors here, and those colors are all indicated. Whoops, I need to go back to that. Those colors are all indicated what they mean down here, and it's way more than I want to get to in a video like this. But you can go ahead and download this latest version of Quadrant from what used to be called the Android Market. Now it's called Google Play. So if you go to Google Play, you can download Quadrant Standard. It's a free app that you can download to your phone, and you can run it on your phone. Okay, now that we've had a look at the test results with Quadrant, I'm going to start talking in more detail about the camera that is in the Blaze. Now, I took some videos and some still images with this, and I'd mentioned that I had it at a trade show. Here's some images I took at the trade show. I'm going to show you that trade show video, but let's go ahead and take a look. This was the Photoshop World Convention. They held it over this past weekend here in Washington, D.C. And man, were there people there. Holy cow. So this is what it looked like going into the entrance of Photoshop World. Now, I also took some pictures here around the office. I like to show a still life on my desk. I set up a little still life and show you what that looks like. And of course, here's what that still life looked like. Now, I go in for some close-ups. I was very impressed by this because not only is the contrast good, the blacks are black, the whites are white, but the details are all very good. This is pretty low light that I have in my desk. This is just available light. I don't set up any kind of light. I'm not using the flash. So this is just some crappy overhead fluorescent lights. And the red is red, green is green, blue is blue. And when you go in for the close-up, I did a little macro shot. look at the close-up. Things are sharp. The red, green, and blue holds up. I'm really very impressed by that. And then I take a flesh tone shot to show you what the flesh tones look like. And now this is Paula on the left and Stefan on the right. And again, very impressed by this. This is all the standard settings in the phone. The only thing I did, this is all the automatic settings, the only thing I did is I forced the flash on. I like to set it up with the bright light behind them, because that's a very difficult thing for a phone to deal with. And yet look at what this has done. Look at the color in their faces. You've got good color. Look at the flash in their eyes. The clarity, the focus is good on their faces. This actually, although it's only a 5 megapixel camera, this is one of the best cell phone photos I've seen of faces where you're taking them in a difficult environment with the bright light behind them. So yay for the Samsung Blaze. Now, I mentioned that I also took some videos. Let's go back here, scroll back to where the videos were. Now, this was a video that I shot overlooking at Photoshop World. Let's go ahead and run that. This is the expo floor at Photoshop World here in Washington, D.C. This is March 24th, I think, Saturday. And I'm shooting with the Samsung Blaze for T-Mobile. Just wanted to see how it looks with the available light in a convention center like this. Now, you could see from that, and more importantly, hear from that the video was, so-so, okay, nothing special, but the sound was actually pretty good. When I shot that, it was a very noisy environment. People were all around me, standing there, waiting for the floor to open up, and it was really, really quite noisy. So I'm impressed that this did the audio so as well as it did. Then I also took an a video outside. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is video with the new Samsung Blaze. Actually, it's the Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G, but that's too big of a mouthful. It's a beautiful spring morning in late March here in Northern Virginia, and blue sky. That's the Wirefly building right there. And I'm holding the phone about a foot or so away from my mouth. I'm curious to know how good the sound sounds. And I can see the display. It's in bright sun, so the display's a little hard to see, but really not too bad. So this is a look at 720p HD video from the Samsung Blaze. There is a bit of a breeze kicking up, so that may cause some rumble in the sound. And very interested to see how this looks and sounds. That was really very good. I thought that the contrast was excellent. The whites were white, the blacks were black. The detail's pretty good. This is 720p HD video, so it's not as high resolution as maybe we would like it to be. But the fact is that for cell phone video, that was pretty good. Again, everything was set to automatic there. And as I mentioned in the video, I could actually see the display. I don't have the display turned up as bright as I could, but I was standing in the bright sun, and I could actually see the display. Okay, that's what the Samsung Blaze looks like in terms of its photographic performance and its video performance. I mentioned that I wanted to discuss the download speed, so let's go to the web. And I should have something set up here that's not too difficult for me to get to. I like to go to the bandwidth meter on cnet.com. There we go, bandwidth meter CNET. Now this is deep inside the Wirefly building, so this is not necessarily the place for the best reception, but I just got 4.3 megabits. Just for the heck, I'm going to run that again. And again, this is the sort of connection speed you can expect using the internet. So this is a cherry blossom video that I shot a few days ago. Actually, I shot it about a week ago. And here are the cherry blossoms in Washington, D.C. There's music in there, too. So give you some chance of hearing what the sound sounds like. If you guys ever get the chance to come to D.C. and see the cherry blossoms, I highly recommend it. A video just doesn't do it justice. Well, let's maybe skip ahead a little bit, huh? Come on, there we go. Whoops. Show you some different scenes. Oh, different music, too. This is Rocks a Little Harder. There you go. That's the Martin Luther King Memorial in D.C. through the cherry blossoms. Okay, so that's what a video looks like. And that just about wraps it up. My overall impression of the Samsung Blaze, and again, the official name is the Samsung Galaxy S Blaze 4G. My overall impression is that it's a pretty darn good phone. I like the size, I like the weight. The display is just, it's eye-popping. It really, really looks good. The camera is only a 5 megapixel camera, but it is a good 5 megapixel camera. So, now could this be better? Sure, it could be better. But I think that the Blaze is intended to be a midline phone. The Galaxy S2 phone is at the top of the line, and the Blaze is below that. So at some point, it is going to be a fairly affordable phone. And considering what you're going to pay for it, I think there's a lot going on for the Galaxy S Blaze 4G. Now, of course, if you want to get this phone or any other phone, Wirefly would love to be your provider. So Wirefly is the biggest online retailer of cell phones in the U.S. If you need a new phone, hey, give Wirefly a try. We'd love to have you shop with us. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Kovacs here at Wirefly. Thanks for watching.